Now that you've found UBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows, it's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk. Radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's ubnradio.com.
Welcome everybody. Welcome to all our guests from across the country and around the world. This is another edition of Focus with Ron Frierson. I'm your host, Ron Frierson, along with my co-host and contributor, my brother, Mr. Woody Wilson.
Hello. How you doing, Ron?
Doing
Good
very
to see
well.
You today.
Good to see you as well. You guys could spend your weekend with anyone, and we're so glad that you decided to spend it with us. So it's customary for us to begin the show with my thoughts, but because of so many rapidly changing things in our world and so many issues and so many topics we need to discuss, today I'm going to skip over my thoughts and go over something that's near and dear to my heart. A couple of weeks ago, it came into the national spotlight, and what I'm talking about is the water situation in Flint, Michigan. And then recently, we had issues with the school mold pollution situation in Detroit. So my home state is Michigan. I'm from the Saginaw area. I used to live in Flint as well. And so these problems hit near and dear to me and near and dear to our heart. And it should be a canary in a coal mine for things that our country is facing in this day and age. So to help me discuss this, these issues going on in Flint and in Detroit, along with the governor's State of the State address and what his strategy is and how he's dealing with this situation now, I have a special guest with me. And my special guest is Dr. Pamela Pugh. Pamela is originally from Saginaw, Michigan, my hometown, and she comes from a very, very, very well-respected family, and she's very accomplished in her own right, and I'm pleased to have her. Pamela is the treasurer of the Michigan Board of Education, and so she has firsthand knowledge about what's going on the ground there. So do we have Pamela on the line?
I am here, Ron.
Hi, Dr. Pugh. How are you?
I am well, Ron, and thank you so much for having me today, and more importantly, being concerned and raising the consciousness around all of these issues that are going on in our home state. If I may just go right in, I will begin with our education system. I'm actually just leaving a good friend of ours, the funeral of an educator, a young educator in her early 40s. And our educator, a principal at one of our schools here in Michigan. So my heart really goes out to our educators. Our educators are really the nurturers of our children and really taking some stressful and under a lot of pressure. And,
Yes.
and as you mentioned on Wednesday, in the Detroit area, 88 of Detroit's roughly 100 schools were closed. So that's 88
Wow. schools.
And that was due to teacher sick-outs and teachers crying out about the deplorable learning conditions, as you mentioned, that our children, those environments that our children are subjected to there in Detroit.
So tell me, Dr. Pugh, let me interrupt really quick. So you said 88 teachers or 88 schools?
I'm sorry, 88 schools. 88 of Detroit's
schools.
roughly 100 schools.
Now, are
Yes.
all of these schools affected by the mold and the pollution situation in Detroit? Are they all affected, or it's just like in solidarity that some teachers decided to support the other teachers that are sitting out?
I would say that some teachers decided to support other teachers, but I will tell you that as I began this conversation, my hat goes off to educators across the country. But in Detroit, our teachers are, they're definitely fighting for clean and safe and healthy and learning environments for our children, for smaller classroom sizes, where in kindergarten they can see upward of 40 students, where their contracts are calling for 25 students per class. That's just unacceptable.
Yeah.
But they've also been called to loan money to the district, and given their deep pay cuts, they're seeing people surrounding them make $20,000 more than they do. They're concerned about feeding their own families. Our educators are. They're seeing their students were only roughly around 43 cents to the dollar going to the classroom. So a lot of the educators sometimes have to purchase, or oftentimes are called to purchase the resources that their students need.
Dr. Pugh, on that note, I was just speaking with a friend of mine yesterday, and this friend tends to lean more towards the right, and she was telling me that the teachers' unions, and I was immediately somewhat taken aback, because it seems like it's popular now, it's within the last, let's say, 5 years or so, for the teachers' unions and the teachers to be almost demonized as being the bad guy, and that they're always talking about the failure of teachers. They don't really understand the pressures that teachers are under, and how you have to really have a passion for this job, because
Absolutely.
You're not doing it for the money.
Oh, not at all.
You have to have a passion for it, and there's always been like a give and take. So if you go into the somewhere in the private sector, and it's always said that you will be rewarded more, you get paid more in the private sector, but it's more volatility. But if you do something in the public sector, like becoming a teacher, you won't make the same type of money, but you will have better benefits and maybe a longer career longevity. But now with all these strikes and these attacks towards the teachers unions, it looks like they're trying to take that away. So why would anybody want to become a teacher when you're being put in these very stressful positions?
That's to truly be a passion.
Right.
Yeah. So
I think you mentioned it first. You said that it definitely is a calling, and so I think they find themselves in this perplexed position where they need to take care of their families.
Exactly.
And at the same time, those children are their families, so they're calling and crying out, bringing attention to these to their deep concerns, to say the least, that their children in the classrooms, their students are facing.
So what's up with the tell me, let's just say I just learned about it today, about the mold situation in the public schools in Detroit. What exactly is it? What's going on there? And then I'll ask you the second question after you answer this one.
All right, so it's so much, and I'm trying to get it all in here because we're going to creep into this Flint lead water thing, and there is a connection here, so I'm trying to keep it together. So there is, we've seen the pictures, where you can go online, Google DPS, and right that's going to come up is that these sick-outs that the teachers have unfortunately had to take have brought attention to these environmentally unsafe conditions that our students are in. We've had students, and as well as the Detroit mayor, say that he witnessed mice in a dead mouse or dead mice in the school. So these conditions, Detroit is an epicenter for asthma. We know that we see exacerbation of asthma or worsening of asthma, and actually having asthma being linked to some of these things in the schools. I have not done those studies to show that, but definitely that is not good for the health of children. And we do know research, there's great body of research that shows those connections of those health outcomes or those adverse health outcomes.
Okay, so because we need to fast forward a little bit. So that situation, and then we're going to segue into the water situation. And you said there are some linkages there.
Right. So one of the things that I do want to point out is that Detroit public schools have been under some form of an emergency manager. So that is a state takeover style of governance, and that's been for the past 10 years or 7 years. And of those 5 years, those have been under Governor Snyder. Now, before we went into this style, the Detroit Public Schools went into this style of or remove local control of their school system. They had a $100 million surplus, roughly 92% of the market share of DPS students. They had a $1.5 billion bond to repair schools and rebuild schools, but to put into those schools that we're now seeing dilapidated. Today, they have a $3.5 billion debt. Again, this is under Governor Snyder.
Hold on. So you said,
emergency manager.
Dr. Pugh, back up. You said they had a $1.5 billion surplus, and now
they had a $100 million surplus prior to state takeover style governance. Now they're at it's estimated at roughly $3.5 billion debt. About 700 upward to $1 million. I'll just say $800 million annual deficit. And let me go back, because back before state takeover governance, they were in the mid-range around testing scores. So mid-range around with other students in the state. Now they're at the bottom for the country as a ranking for their academic performance. So again, this is under the same emergency manager. Well, not all of it, but he is there now. But it is, and many of the years have been under our current governor. Half of a decade.
Okay, so because we have to wrap up here pretty soon. So did you attend the State of the State address, or did you just watch it and just paid attention to it? I wanted to see whether or not Governor Snyder addressed this and what he said about this stuff.
So I did hear. I was at the State of the State.
Okay.
I was there. I was present on the floor when he was making the State of the State. So from my opinion, I heard him take blame. I heard him push out blame for the Flint water situation. And from all accounts, from what I've heard, it has been his appointed their emergency manager, Darnell Early, who's also the emergency manager at the Detroit Public Schools, who was at the helm and who made that decision to move over to the Flint water that has landed us in the situation that we are in, the catastrophe in Flint.
Well, Dr. Pugh,
so I was there.
We have to cut it now, but I got to tell you how, first off, how proud I am of you. You come from an excellent family, and your father is very well respected in the community. And I know your sister Kanika, and you guys, you're doing great work there. And I'm glad that you were able to bring to light some of these situations, because this is getting pretty big. If you watch CNN or Fox or MSNBC, the stuff that's going on in Michigan right now is big news, and we are now seeing what failed policies, or even think about it to a certain extent, how the urban core is being treated. Flint is a predominantly African American city. They generously say it's a population of about 100,000, and 40% of its residents live at the poverty line.
Wow.
Yeah, it has a very high, and then if you think about, like we were speaking about it before, if you look at some of these more affluent suburbs, let's say like Grand Blanc or something, they were still on Detroit water, but the urban core were these poor people, and poverty has no color.
Right.
But it's disproportionately affecting African Americans, obviously, in a city like that.
This needs to be brought on the national scale.
It is on the national scale.
In terms of the politicians running for office now, this should be.
They all should weigh in.
Campaign and should definitely,
because this is a canary in the coal mine. Like I said, this is something that could happen in any major city if they allow certain interests to take take precedent over what's needed by the people.
Right.
It
sounds like the state started. Go ahead.
Go ahead. We're listening.
And I know I got to phase out of here, but I just want to remind you, this is not about politics. This is about people. But
exactly.
This has all happened at the helm of an undemocratic, unconstitutional, and what many see as racist rule of emergency management, where local government, the local elected politicians or officials, those who are on the ground, they're stripped of their rights, and the governor is appointing emergency managers. So that has been the case in both of these situations, both of these atrocities in our communities.
Well, Dr. Pugh, thank you so much for calling in, and I'm going to stay in contact with you because if you agree to it, I would love to have you on the show again as this thing starts to progress. Okay?
Absolutely, and thank you for having me, and thank you for spreading this information.
Absolutely. You take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's something, man.
That's deep. That's sad.
Two major cities in the United States, two major cities that pretty much have largely African American or minority populations.
Ever since the automobile industry left there, that place has just continued to suffer the consequences.
That's economics. To a certain extent, that happens. If you think about the steel industry leaving Pittsburgh, and sometimes, and what's happened with coal in West Virginia.
Right.
So sometimes economics and industry force a community to have
make
to
bad
change.
Decisions.
Not just to make bad
decisions,
but
government standpoint.
It forces them to have to to change their economic development strategies to say we're going to recruit these types of companies. We're going to start offering these types of classes in our public schools to prepare our students to get the new jobs that are coming in. But you don't think that something as basic as water and the quality of water is going to somehow be affected. It's certain things that you just automatically assume in living in a first world civilized country that you don't have to
take
assume.
It for granted.
Yeah. This is stuff that you would think that will happen in some parts of, Southeast Asia or Sub-Saharan Africa.
Well, listen, the spotlight's on neglect right now across the nation. So we need to infrastructure,
I don't know. But yeah, they said 40% of the people that live in Flint, 1 out of 4, basically, live in poverty.
It's funny when I watch the news, I don't see many minorities. I see the majority of the folks I see on CNN in regards to the water issue down in Flint are Caucasian. So when you gave me that statistic, that surprised me. I didn't realize it was predominantly African American.
Yeah, predominantly. Flint is definitely predominantly a black city. Flint, and they give it a population of 100,000. It's probably 100,000, throughout, in the greater area.
Right.
But in the core of the city, and because there's places, Grand Blanc, Mount Clemens, Flushing, these other places around the city.
Right.
Same as Detroit. If you were to go outside of Detroit, look at Dearborn, Royal Oak, Novi, it's a lot of other little cities around Detroit, but in the city itself, it's predominantly African American. Same thing in
all those cities are affected, the ones in surrounding areas?
Well, in regards to the water issue, I don't think that's the case. In regards to the water issue, I think it's just the city, just the inner city of Flint, because the county stayed on Detroit water, which pulls their water from Lake Huron as opposed to the river water.
Right.
But even all that being said, it's just the fact that the crime, let's say it's a mistake. The mistake in regards to not putting the proper chemical treatment in to help, keep the pipes from eroding and lead getting into the water supply. The real crime is in the response.
The EPA, the woman resigned today.
Yeah.
She didn't forward the information up the chain. And as a result, this occurred.
Yeah. And it's easy to say that, it's incompetence either way.
Yes.
It's just you got that, and then on top of that, now you have the whole Detroit school system.
Wow.
88 schools, kids breathing in toxic air.
Black mold
is
a killer.
It's a killer.
It's a killer.
Yeah.
It's worse than the lead in the water in Flint.
Now, how many other cities around this country may have the same
Cleveland,
sort of
some of the older cities,
a lot of these
New
places,
York,
what I hope is that this situation is happening in my home state, that is somehow making other states and cities, kind of let's check out our places to see.
Well, the better governors will snap to attention and check it out. But
you will hope so. You will hope so. Definitely, you will hope so. I don't know, man. I don't know. The world is a weird and crazy place.
Yes, it is, because that snowstorm back east is phenomenal. State of emergency back east.
Yeah,
They, shut down everything. No planes, no transportation. Roads are empty.
The snow. Sometimes I wonder whether or not it's just hype.
No,
because
it's not
when I
hype.
was a kid,
Yeah.
we had bad snowstorms
There's a little
too.
hype in there.
But now every snowstorm that hits, the news will get on there and act like it's it's straight
Biggest
up.
in history.
Yeah, this is Snowmageddon.
Yeah.
They always make it. I
El
mean, it is
Nino.
bad.
Right.
But we had bad ones growing up too. We had bad ones.
Yeah, I remember a 22-incher when I was growing up in Maryland.
There you go. But
my mom's in the heart of this thing going on right now. She sends me snapshots every once in a while. It's
really?
pretty. It's
she's cool,
it's coming down
right?
hard and fast.
Really.
Yeah. So
she's cool, right?
She's cool. She's at my sister's house.
Yeah. So I mean, but that's not to take away the severity of it. It's always serious, and and I personally do believe in climate change, and so
yes,
the frequency of these types of storms are going to happen a lot. Obviously being frequent, I mean, it's going to happen more than what we were accustomed to back when we were growing up. Bigger and larger storms. But I just like the touch of the end of the world that comes with every storm when you listen to the news. It's crazy.
Yeah,
you know, this is going to be the worst storm.
Buckle down.
And then 2 weeks later, this is going to be the worst storm.
Buckle down.
You know, put the kids in the freezer. You may have to eat them. It's crazy.
That's that cannibalism.
Hey, you see your on that note, you see your girl is back on the scene now, right?
Who's that?
Sarah Palin.
Oh, Sarah Palin's back with
She's
Donald
back on the
Trump.
screen.
Wasn't that was
weird?
It was funny.
It's
I try not to laugh, so you have to take this serious, Woody, and I try not to laugh.
Man. I never really understood her. I don't understand the way she speaks. I don't understand her syntax. I don't understand. I just don't. The way she speaks is weird.
She's riff, huh?
But people like her. I think the people that like her like her.
People love her, and apparently they like Trump too. Which is why they teamed together. Can you imagine them running mates together?
I just think that Trump is, he's crazy, but he's smart. Because
I realized that today.
He's pulling away some of those ultra right wing Tea Partiers and the ones that was for Ted Cruz,
right?
Because Ted Cruz, remember, she had to endorse Ted Cruz. He wouldn't have his senatorial slot if she hadn't gone out on the stump for him. Right. So that means that many people that like her follow him.
Right.
And now she's not endorsing him. She's endorsing Trump. So he's going to pull away from Ted Cruz.
Yeah,
it's a gangster move.
It's a gangster move.
It's a gangster move. And it's just weird, man. Just think about it. We
better not. You better not vote for him.
I'm not.
No, I'm just yelling to everyone on the other end of this microphone.
And I couldn't vote for Ted Cruz either. That dude, he just looks like he's just ready to do some damage. And he would do it with a smile on his face. I don't know. Ted Cruz is I try not to.
Citizen or not? What is the question? What is the answer to that question?
Yeah, well, whether or not you can or not, he's been exposed as being. Whenever you are a citizen and a senator and no one likes you, none of his Republican allies in Congress like him.
That could be a good or a bad thing. You just
not
for what
nobody.
Reasons, I'd like to know.
You have no friends on either side.
Not one. Here's one.
He went before Congress. They try to supposedly the upper chamber, and they're dealing with stuff. As a matter of fact, I just say I got a call coming in. Is it Chris? Okay. Now, I used to live in Australia.
Okay.
There's this one kid over there. He's not a kid anymore because he's my age, maybe a little older than me. His name is Chris Carroll, one of the best shooters you ever meet.
He played ball with you?
Yeah, he couldn't play any defense.
Okay.
But one of the best shooters ever that you will ever meet, like Steph Curry style. But he can't dribble, and he'll tell you.
Okay.
He'll tell you
fell a little short.
But the boy can shoot. Anyway, he's done very, very well for himself. He actually owns a healthcare insurance company based in Australia.
Perfect.
And he was in town in Los Angeles recently, and we were speaking, and we went out and had a drink. And I was asking him about what he thought about the American presidential race. And I just thought it would be interesting to hear from an international perspective what they think about us when they look in and see what's going on with Hillary and with Trump and those guys.
And how much
so I have one of my good friends from down under, Mr. Chris Carroll. Is he on the line with us now?
Hey, Chris.
Hi, how you doing, Ron? You picking me up?
Chris, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hey, so what time is it there?
Well, it's the future, Ron, and I'm coming to you from the future.
Yes,
It's 12:30 on Saturday, 12:26 Saturday.
I wish
in
I would have.
Australia.
I should have called you right
are the
before the
lottery
lottery
numbers?
ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
When the lottery.
Yeah, well, I've seen your Saturday, Ron, and it's not pretty.
Oh,
so
my
you
God.
Need
It's
to, you need
terrible.
to rethink about stuff. Hey, listen, I heard that intro. Can we just back up a little bit on some of my basketball prowess?
Okay, sure. Tell me about it.
So I
Chris.
think the Steph Curry thing,
Yeah.
right, bang on, spot on. I was Steph
Got it
Curry
right.
before Steph Curry was Steph Curry.
I hear you.
You know, dribbling, I had pretty good handles. I remember pretty good dribbling skills.
See?
Not with your left hand.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's not important, right? You got two hands. You don't need two hands, right? I did it right. And yeah, Woody, you got to be careful about Ron. His memory is starting to get a little bit patchy,
He's
so
faded,
just be
huh?
careful.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey,
think I
so
noticed that.
hey, Chris, tell me this, man. From your end, when you guys see the stuff that's happening with our presidential race, you know, I know we spoke about it a little bit, and you see someone like Donald Trump. I mean, what do you guys think? Is it covered on the news as much there and all that stuff?
Oh, it's pretty big. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just in terms of understanding, we're a pretty strong ally with the US, and
Yeah.
we follow your politics pretty closely. Now, Donald Trump's a big deal out here, but he's a big deal out here for his entertainment space, right? And The Apprentice and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The things that the news bites that we get are more entertaining about Trump than they are serious. Although what's been happening over time is I guess we were kind of expecting the entertainment stuff to fade away a little bit as the debates got more serious, but he's hanging on, and we're a little bit confused as to why, you know, a guy is still able to have these views.
Yeah.
Talking about pretty big infrastructure down in the south across the border with Mexico. I mean, for that still to be a topic and be a part of a national debate, we find a little bit surprising. We've got a different political system here. We don't have the entertainers.
Right.
We've got an investment banker as a prime minister, which blew a few people's minds. So we're moving away from career politicians, but Trump is entertaining to us.
He's entertaining to everyone.
So, like, when he speaks the way he stuff with that, some of that like xenophobic and ethnocentric stuff, when he's talking about, you know, all Muslims, you know, shouldn't come into the country. Yeah. I mean, when you guys hear stuff like that, what do you guys think?
Well, we're quite shocked. For someone who could potentially be the leader of the free world to have these views of this, you know, this really quite divisive, and what, as we observe a country as big and as strong and as influential as the US, have someone gain this type of voice and have the voice heard and gaining interest from the public is the concerning part. And, you know, we're quite hopeful that I don't think Trump will get up, as I'm sure you are. I said, but we've got to think a
It's
little
getting
bit
closer,
broad.
man. We're not as confident anymore. I mean, if you look at, if Hillary was running strong, or even for that fact, if Bernie was running strong, if we had a clear, decisive, no-brainer, this person is going to be elected.
Ironically, the best thing for Trump is to have the Clinton-Sanders race close, right? Because it keeps him relevant.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, if you had Hillary streaming it ahead, you were really then going to quickly get into a discussion around who's going to finish second to Hillary, right?
Right.
But now you got these three people, and the worst, you don't want to confuse the voting public, right? Because when it comes to poll day, just, you know, the tightrope goes up 5,000 feet, and the consequences can be very dire. So, you know, you really need a strong Hillary Clinton or a Sanders to get that space between Trump, because while it's close, people will keep listening to Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, does he have any buildings over in Australia?
Probably, Ron. I mean,
He does.
he's got buildings everywhere.
Are they huge? Are they huge? You know, that's how he speaks. They're
Huge. Yeah. No. Quite possibly. In fact, we're going to get you out here, Ron, to have a bit of a visit, and maybe you can do a little bit of work and feed that back to your audience, whether Trump has got some real estate out here.
Yeah.
There you go.
Now, when I introduced you earlier, I spoke about the fact that you have a health insurance company now. And I remember asking you what you thought about Obamacare.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that? Share that with the audience.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, our system's a little bit different. We run what's called a universal healthcare model, where we have a public system, a private system.
Mm-hmm.
We've got, and our public system's really quite strong and healthy. We've got about half our population in Australia. So we've got about 23 million people in Australia. Half our population have private health insurance. That gives people the choice of doctor and hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And really what it does, the universal health model has a really strong safety net to ensure that everyone has access to good quality healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think what Obamacare is trying to do, I think we discussed, Ron, Obamacare has a model similar to ours in his mind.
Mm-hmm.
But it is bumpy to get to, because we're talking about shifting funding models around, making sure that those people who really can't afford good quality healthcare, we find a way to give them access.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard because things cost money, right? And so if you in a way trying to subsidise the lower socioeconomic parts of your country to get access to healthcare, that someone's got to pay for that. Right, and governments are businesses, and they get income and they get revenue, and they pay out through spending, and this would be a form of spending. So we have a pretty high taxation system here, but we also have good healthcare.
Yeah. So with
so
that,
you've got those trade-offs.
So there's trade-offs. So in other words, whatever we get, we're going to have to pay for it.
Uh-huh.
So with now in the United States, everyone's screaming about everyone, especially on the right, there's always lower the taxes, lower taxes, but in order for something like this to work, you have to have tax revenue. You can't have it all. You can't expect to have a first-class health care system run a country without being able to pay for it, and you can't pay for it with tax cuts.
No, that's exactly right. Governments are businesses. Businesses need income, and businesses make investments. Mm-hmm. You have an investment in healthcare, but that costs money. Where do we get our money? We get our income from tax. So unfortunately, I mean, it does skew a little bit socialist on this stuff, and there's some models obviously up in Europe. I spent a bit of time living in the Netherlands and really high tax rates, but we had our child in Amsterdam, we never saw a bill. And the quality of education is incredibly high, but it's really hard to become a millionaire in these countries with high tax rates. But what do you want? Do you want to live in a society where people have great access to great healthcare, great education, and I've got a close to 50% tax rate? Or do I want to be able to be a super capitalist, try and get my tax down to 8s and 9%, but when I want to go to hospital or when I want to get my kids into a great school, I'm going to have to pay.
That's interesting.
Very, very interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
And it is a trade-off. I mean, things have to add up. And you have to identify your priorities as a country, as a civilization. Now, obviously, we have I'm an entrepreneur at heart. Woody's an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur. And one thing about America is that we want to keep that entrepreneurial spirit alive and make it, continue to keep this a country where you can thrive, you can become a millionaire. Yeah. But even with that, some of it is somewhat of an illusion as well, because the way that wealth is concentrated now,
top 2%.
Yeah, and the avenues, those economic ladders to get to the point where they're not where they used to be.
Right. There's some missing steps on the ladder.
There's missing steps, and in some instances, the system itself tends to be a little bit corrupt.
It needs to be revamped.
Yeah. So I don't know. So I don't know. Maybe the pendulum needs to swing a little bit towards the Bernie Sanders to kind of, get some of the dust off the table so that we can
bring new
start
ideas
anew.
to the table.
I mean, the hard part about this political change is it does require patience and it requires consistency. And you've got politicians looking for terms, and the terms are relatively short. In the US, you've got a couple of 4-year terms. And it's important that you get someone who is incented to make long-term structural change to systems so that there will be positive outcomes in out years. And it will go beyond probably the term of a president. But you need to look for leaders who have the fortitude to make decisions that might be in the short term difficult, that might be, and we see a lot about Obama talking about gun control on the CNN town hall. And I mean that's a topic we've got great experience in here in Australia, was around gun reform.
Yeah, after what happened in Sydney, you guys pretty quickly shut it down.
Right.
Yeah, back in '96, it was down in Tasmania. We had a guy completely unhinged grab a semi-automatic weapon, and he killed 35 people. And he injured 23 people back in '96. And our Prime Minister had been in the office about 6 weeks at the time. Australia looked at him and said, well, what are you going to do about it? Now, gun laws were, dispersed across states. So we had to work pretty hard to try and get all the states together and do what we've now gone through, which was a gun buyback, which took off about 700,000 guns out of Australia. Now, just to equate that for your population, on a percentage term, that would equate to about 40 million guns in the US.
Wow.
40 million. So the program that we undertook in '96, we got 700,000 back. That would be an equivalent of 40 million guns. Now, we've had gun homicide fall by 59, nearly 60%, and suicides with firearms fell 65% without an increase in other types of death. Right, so we did just shift what was a gun death into another type of death. These are absolute falls. Now, we didn't take guns off everyone.
Sometimes I wonder if the simple fact of our size, I mean, you guys still have less than 20 million people in the country, right?
Oh, we're at 23 million now.
You're 23 million. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You guys have grown. You've been, yeah. Wow. I was going to say something. I'm just going to hold
it. I knew what you were going to say, Ron. You made a great choice. You made a great decision.
Yeah, but here, we have, 350 or something million? More than that.
Yeah, more than that.
Yeah, maybe close to about 360.
I mean, Obama makes a great point. Obama makes a great point about, that's if you can just save 2,000 lives.
Yeah.
If you can save the pain on 2,000 families.
Yeah.
And if it takes a little bit longer to get a gun, right? If you've just got to wait a little bit longer through cooling off, or you've got to fill out one extra form, could an individual make that tiny sacrifice?
Of course.
If a system ultimately could save 2,000 lives.
It seems like common sense, but unfortunately we have the NRA and some of the other.
Woody, where does that common sense fall down though? Where does it happen? What's happening over there?
In terms of what?
The common sense of getting guns off the streets.
I think that just listen. I mean, you look at Donald Trump; he's an enigma to us as well. We can't understand, what's going on here, and those people that support him tend to fall into that gun lobbying area, the NRA, and so it's just one big cluster.
But but whatever amount of the population he has, it's enough to thrust him in front, because the numbers he has. Let's just say he was very popular but very fringe. He is still. So that means that if you're very popular but you're fringe, can you be both? So if you're very popular, you're probably no longer fringe.
I don't know. He manipulates the press pretty well. He is a celebrity. I don't know
how much. And we are obsessed with celebrity culture,
right? But let's stay positive. Let's say one of the Democrats gets up, whoever it is. I think the thing that we've also got to keep in mind that Donald Trump has been able to generate such support on such divisive issues. Now let's say we put Hillary in Washington. Those people still exist. So what is Hillary's agenda going to be to bring these people back out of the fringe, right? Because they won't go away. Now let's hope that Donald doesn't get there, but his followers will be there. What is she going to do to bring those people along with her?
Well, some
because
people,
you can't keep them disenfranchised.
No, some people won't come along. It's the same way. And what we learned through the Obama presidency is that we learned the limitations of a president, because that's why he had to put forth so many executive orders, because Congress pretty much tried to cut him off at the pass on everything he tried to accomplish with the use of Congress. So then when it came to an executive order, they would complain about him using an executive order, saying that the president's not a king. Why is he using this executive order? It's because I couldn't compromise with you for anything, so I had to get something done. So
this is where democracy doesn't work well, right? This is where democracy is failing.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell me real quick before I let you go, Chris, what do they think about President Obama down in Australia?
Oh, we're big fans. There's been a lot of press about his. I mean, the State of the Union was just recently, and we saw the colour of his hair. In fact, Ron, have you been going to President Obama's hairdresser?
He's having some plastic surgery done too.
Yeah. But you can see his age. He has had a lot to do over his period, and our view, he's navigated it really well. Would be the summary view. We would say that he's done a great job. Really good job, and it's just due to your policies that he can't stay on. But if he was in Australia, he would probably be voted again and enter another terms of presidency.
So you think that if Australia has anything to say about it, you think you can see him as the Secretary General of the United Nations one day?
Oh, wouldn't that be powerful?
Yeah, I can see that.
He's pretty well qualified. I think his
Yes,
LinkedIn profile
Yeah.
would support him getting that job.
I think you said his LinkedIn profile. My brother Chris, it's always good to hear from you, man. And
Good to meet you, Woody.
I'm going to get down there to see you sometime. Say
hope
hello to the wife and to the baby for me, okay?
I will do, Ron. Let's keep in touch.
Enjoy your Saturday.
We will.
All right.
Take care.
Take care,
Thank
everyone.
you.
All right, take care.
That was Chris Carroll.
Very great call-in. Two great call-ins today.
Yeah. We had a couple of great callers today. Yeah, Chris is one of the funniest people you ever meet. So
Yeah, he's a funny guy.
Man.
Sharp, smart guy.
Very smart. Don't tell him that. I'm
No?
glad we're off the. Oh yeah, he is.
He probably went to bed. He didn't hear that.
No. It's 11. It's noon. The next day is noon tomorrow in Australia.
Exactly.
So yeah, I may even form a segment where from time to time we'll have Chris call in, caller from the future. Since in Australia they're always a day ahead of us,
Right.
so we can see what happened yesterday. Maybe like around election day.
There you go.
I say, hey Chris, who won the election?
Lottery
since you're
day.
A day. Yeah, so since you're there a day ahead of us. But yeah, so good friend, great guy, and thank you again, Chris, and thank you again to Dr. Pamela Pugh for informing us on the situation in Michigan and what's going on there. So my brother Woody.
Yes, what's up? What can I do for you?
I almost forgot
What'd you forget, man?
about this bling
Academy
across
Award
my
boycott?
wrist. This
Oh,
bling
that.
across my wrist.
Oh, yes.
Javago.
I like how you say
Javago
that.
watches. Ooh-wee.
Ooh-wee.
If I sent this over to the East Coast, they have floods because all the snow melt.
Right
It's
away.
so hot. It's so hot.
It
All
is
the
a
snow
beautiful
melt.
watch, though.
That's right. It is a beautiful watch. You guys have to check out these watches. Go to Javago, www.javagowatches.com. JIVAO-watches.com. Check out their entire selection of fine men's and women's wristwear. It's pretty pricey, very pricey actually.
But it's hot.
But I understand that they have struck a deal with Amazon. If you decide to buy, what I would do is I would go to the website, look at the model I want, get that model number, then go to Amazon, see if they offer that same model on Amazon, and you can get it for a discount.
Wow.
But Javago watches.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, and if you guys have any questions, you guys can call us at area code 323-843-2826. Again, 323-843-2826. So, what do you think about Will, Jada?
Will and Jada? So I wondered if they knew if he knew that Jada was about to drop the bomb.
He had
like
to back.
that.
He had to back his watch.
He said he
call.
flew home from out of the country and was like, "Well, what happened?"
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I don't believe
Jada's
that,
straight
though.
Baltimore. She could do what she wants
Yeah,
to do.
well, yeah, she's a homegirl.
And she's yeah. So.
But I think the attention. Finally, there's some changes that were made. Some changes were made today that
What happened?
that you can term out of your seat on the board. So it's not a lifetime.
You can, or
yes,
you
can.
do now.
They changed it to that you will
Really?
now term out.
Okay.
Yeah, before it was a lifetime seat. So hopefully that'll freshen it up a little bit, bring some younger.
But
And the other thing,
what's the other thing?
if you're inactive, if you're not active within the industry, you're out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you have to be currently active.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those are good things, but
It's a start.
it's a start for that one particular thing. It doesn't change the structural things at the studio level.
Dude, it is.
It's structural at the studio level, and it comes to fruition and is manifested at award season, so you can see what's there.
Right.
At the studio level, you don't get as many. You don't see many films with us that are true representations of that. They show one segment of our culture, whether
Right.
it's the street culture, whether it's the ultra good, and
there's some roles out there.
I mean, I don't know. This may be controversial.
What's up?
I can't stand Tyler Perry movies. I can't stand them. I'm sorry, y'all. I just can't stand them.
There's a particular audience that those
Oh.
movies appeal to, and you and I happen not to be in that group of people.
I mean, but those are the types of things that they will green light something like that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, well,
Like, oh, let's go get him.
and
Get them.
He
some.
puts a lot of money in the productions too, so that helps out.
Well, I know I'll never be on a movie of his just because I said that. So,
But in all seriousness, though,
because it's like the buffoonery. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or okay, let's just say that I'll be kind and say, that has its place.
Right.
But we need more that are representation. Our crew, me, you, Francis, Lee, Tommy, we're all professional dudes, and we all live in a very global world.
Right.
All of our friends aren't just
international.
us. We are, and we're all
Right.
professional. We're all educated, and we have complex lives. Our lives are not just every day in the hood, but we do go to the hood.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
from the hood.
Right.
Our lives aren't some super geeky thing.
Right.
We're not hypersexual, at least you not.
Hey man, listen.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
So
you get my
there's-
point.
Yeah, the roles have to be created for. I mean, the roles are there for us. I mean, they'll substitute a true story about a black woman and throw Angela Jolie in there instead of, casting a black woman. So that's got to stop. I mean, it runs so deep and it's unnecessary. The world
It
has
is
changed.
unnecessary. It is.
And you'll see when the ratings drop.
And what's
it's funny.
Stacey Dash? You hear what
Ooh,
she
she's
said on
fine.
fun? Yeah, but yeah. I mean, I agree for everyone to have their opinion, but she said that it's
she's on
pretty
Fox,
much that it's
Republican,
she's
yeah,
and
yeah,
you know they're
she's on
gonna have
Fox.
her on there.
Yeah.
Oh, whenever you can find one,
yeah.
they'll find
grab-
one and
go
they'll
for
get
it.
that one all of the spotlight.
She's on there a lot.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she said that there shouldn't be something to the effect that there shouldn't be like BETs and stuff like that because these black only music awards programs, because if white people had that same type of deal with whites only,
Right.
then it'll be an outcry. And that's true.
There's some
That
truth
part
to
is
that.
true, but
Yeah.
there's, like most things, it's more complex than that.
Oh, it's far more
What
complex.
it is that because there's such a lack, if there weren't such a lack of opportunity, a lack of acknowledgement of all that stuff throughout that artistic genre, then there will be no need. But you as a filmmaker may get no sort of recognition or validation for your art, or maybe not even a deal,
Right.
unless your own community supports you,
Yeah,
because there are certain
ourselves on the
things that
back.
come along with
Yeah.
being a minority.
Right.
And being a minority, it's not out of the realm of possibility for you to support things or to recognize within that minority group. That's why you're a minority. If you're
Right.
part of the majority, it doesn't make a sense for you to try to say,
Right.
we're the
Exactly.
majority, so we're going to be more majority.
right.
It makes no sense.
If we were included, we wouldn't.
Yeah, if
those.
you're included, you don't have to. It will be no need
Right.
for it.
Yeah.
So once it gets to a point where it's truly,
Equal representation.
yeah,
But the studios can make a lot more money if they diversified their, from the it runs so deep in terms of from writing scripts,
yeah,
producing movies, studios pick. I mean, it starts at the beginning and the
yeah,
it's frustrating. It's very frustrating.
yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of holding my tongue here a little bit, but it's bull. It's like
Yeah.
there's no need for it.
You can say it, man.
Can't we all just get along?
You can say it,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's and I think probably some of those changes, at least at the academy. But this is what I don't want. I don't want it to be a superficial, temporary. Let's give them something to quiet them down. Next year we have Samuel L. Jackson, Morgan Freeman, Denzel, Will Smith,
Yeah, just everybody
and
at once. Boom.
Dennis Haysbert, all up
Now
there.
shut up. Boom,
Yeah,
drop
be
the
quiet.
mic.
Drop the mic, and then 2 years from now we'll be right back in the same place.
Yeah.
That's why things need to happen structurally. But
It's so systemic, though. It's going to take a while, but
Yeah.
they made some steps today.
But some of it is, it's access, but also some of it is us. Some of it is, I don't want to say it, but some of it is. There's some stuff that we crank out that I'm like, man, what are you doing?
Look, everyone makes bad movies, okay?
That's true. You got
Everyone
a point.
makes
There.
bad
Everyone
movies.
makes bad
Yeah.
movies.
And so
But,
the good ones, I'm not saying just because,
Mm-hmm.
but at least throw us in the mix. We weren't, it wasn't even considered,
Yeah.
there's got to be some consideration.
That's why, to this day, and I heard they're going to come back with some 2-hour special. To this day, I have never seen an episode of Friends. Remember that show,
Oh, really?
Friends?
Yeah.
With Jennifer Aniston?
I watched it
never,
a few times. I wanted to see what the
Yeah, I
hype
bet
was
you
about.
did.
Yeah, I wanted to see what the
I
hype
never
was
saw
about.
that.
Yeah.
Because how can you be in New York and not one black person? Then you see a black person walking down the street, right?
Oh yeah.
It was like no people and black people and friends in New
Why
York.
do they do
None.
that, dude?
I don't know, but it was popular.
I mean, you have to make an effort to exclude people.
Yeah.
When you make a television show with no
Exactly.
minorities, and I'm not just talking black people, just minorities. When you make a show, any show, and you don't have any minorities in it.
And most of my non-black friends, almost all my non-black friends, agree with us. They like, come on. I mean, they're friends of mine. It's like, how you gonna, if Bob or Sam or Rob is having a party, and it's like everything is this, and that's not really representative of. I mean,
the world. Just represent the world.
Come on. Just come on. Just be real. Don't try to. I know a part of it is fantasy, but the things are supposed to. And then, I mean, I guess some of my Latino brothers and sisters can say the same thing.
It's just control. They want to control.
Or they make it so that all we hang around is those within our community. And that's just not the world we live in.
That's not the world today.
Yeah, it's not the world today. I mean, if you look at most Latino things, it's like they don't deal with anyone except for Latinos. They all at East Los High. They just all there. It's all Latino. And it's...
I think the mindset of America has changed. I mean, we elected Barack Obama, so overwhelmingly people accept the fact that he's an African-American man.
Exactly.
So I think that's reflective of the country, of what's going on here.
It is reflective of what's going on.
Why can't they pick up on that?
Sometimes they don't want to.
They could make so much more money. Anyway,
they could.
It's all about their bottom line. Stop trying to control everything. Release the hounds.
If they were to really careful about the line, you would dial in and take advantage of it.
You'd make a lot more money.
You would make a hell of a lot of more money.
Yep.
Everyone, thank you for joining in. Thank you to Dr. Pamela Pugh.
Thank you.
In Michigan.
Yep.
Thank you to my boy Chris Carroll calling from tomorrow.
Big Chris. I like Chris, man. I'm going down to see Chris one day.
You ought to do that.
Yeah.
You have a good time. He's a cool cat. A very cool cat.
Yeah.
And thank all of you. Thank you, the audience around the country and around the world, for joining in and choosing to spend your Friday evening with me. We'll be back again with a great show for you next week. This is Focus with Ron Frierson. Enjoy yourselves and be safe out there. Peace.
Peace out.